So I thought I'd make another movement video because people have kind of had a lot of questions that are like, how does the movement system work? What's going on exactly? So I thought I'd try and go a bit more in depth into the movement system, just explain what I'm doing while I'm playing, and then hopefully you can ask questions, I can answer them. And this is not the CTF update that I released to everybody. This is the most up to date version. It's got some minor changes. I've been mainly working on the skiing thing, so not too many changes have happened other than that. Let me up the FOV. I think it's, oh, it was already 120. All right. So first things first, I should explain, you don't have to use the any of the ski buttons to actually ski. They'd almost be better off not even being called a ski button. It'd probably be better to refer to it as a lateral jet button. It just so happens at low speeds, you ski when you press it. So let's demonstrate. I'm not using the ski button at all. I'm just, this is kind of what you call old tribe style jetpack, where you're upjetting, and because you're upjetting, you can lateral jet as well. And I'm just gaining speed like that right now. As you can see, the problem with that, of course, is that you're always gaining upward speed, which is not what you want in most cases, like when you're falling or when you're just going along flat ground. So that's where you, instead of using the upjet to activate lateral jets, you want to use your lateral jet, which can be activated either two methods. Spacebar at the moment is it's press to ski is what that would probably be best referred to as. And then, of course, you can use control, which is toggle ski, which control is my personal favorite. And as you can see, I'm burning energy by pressing the forward key. But what's critical is carving and air control are completely isolated from the lateral jet key. So I can turn off lateral jetting like I'm doing right now, and I can carve. And I'm using jets because I'm trying to land right now, but I'm not using jets at the moment. I'm just carving. And you can see it's noticeable. It's not, one thing you'll notice though is it's not crazy like a lot of FPS games, carving and air control. And the reason for this is because, at least the reason for air control in all games is because all other games don't have jetpacks. And so they had to add a way for players to be able to more intuitively control where they want to go. But because there are jetpacks in this game, air control is not nearly as important. In fact, it kind of belittles the fact that there are jetpacks in the game. So carving is actually, it's quite strong. It may get up to a little bit, but it's when you manage your energy right, and then you combine carving and lateral jetting, you can do some pretty tight turns. But everything's relative to speed. That's something you always want to keep in mind. So if you feel like you're not turning very quickly, look at your speedometer. It's likely you're doing like 7K. And it's one of those, like, you're like, oh, it's kind of, if anybody's watched Top Gear and you watch any of them drive the Bugatti Veyron, and they're like, the common thing is they're always like, yeah, we were going 70 miles an hour, and then I thought we were stopped, so I went to open the door and I looked down at the speedometer, and it said we were going 70 miles an hour. And I was like, oh, I guess that's what happens when you are going fast all the time. You completely lose all bearing on what the word fast really means. But anyway, back to the movement system. As you can see here, I'm able to jump and ski. I've modified that's actually one of the code modifications I've made, and once another online update is released, jump and ski will hopefully work fine. So jump and ski is one of those things, unfortunately, because jump at the moment is also currently tied to the toggle ski, like I'm toggle ski right now, so I'm not actually pressing the button. But if I go to just jump and not jump jet, you'll see that the skiing gets turned off. But you see, I'm automatically skiing anyways. So it's one way you can use the jump function and such. But this is something that, if you go into the config file, you can change, because all it does is it does jump and it activates the lateral jet key. So if you want, you can separate those keys very easily. So at this point, it's kind of getting into I've explained all the general aspects of the movement system, and it's if I had to say anything when it comes to building speed with this movement system, I found the best way to do it is to conserve energy until you've got what's a good spot, and you just burn all of it. And then everything afterwards, you're just trying to maintain speed until you've got a good enough supply of energy to get and a good straight to burn it on. However, of course, if you're full energy, you should never be full energy. It means that you're wasting speed effectively. But something I've found is that even though you can use energy like I'm doing right now, you never run out and your jetpacks never turn off. Because you don't have that much thrust. Carving isn't normally strong enough by itself without a good amount of energy, and so it tends to be quite hard to control. So it's kind of a balance. I mean, as you can see here, I'm going to get up above these towers, and that's the benefit of if I'd been burning energy the whole time and I didn't have any energy reserves, I probably wouldn't be able to make it up there. So it's kind of, you have to strike a balance. And of course, you notice that after you start gaining a certain amount of speed, slow down here for a second. After you gain a certain amount of speed, those half pipes, you just start taking damage on them. And it's because the transition is pretty smooth, but it's not that smooth. So you do have to always keep in mind that as you go up in speed, any impact damage you take is always going to be increased. Now, I suppose the last aspect of the movement system I kind of skimmed over because I kind of forgot about it until now, is, of course, because there's automatic skiing, and there's no real ski button, it's kind of a how do you stop. And, of course, when you stop, the easiest way to do it is to make sure you're not using the lateral jet key. You can use it if you want to, it doesn't really matter. But turn off the lateral jet key like you see I'm doing right now. And I'm traveling this direction, so I'm just going to hold back. You'll see I come to a stop. It works in all directions. As far as what I mean by that is I'm traveling in this direction, I can look that way and then just press right and it'll slow me down. I can also press left and it would slow me down. I could look completely back and I could just press forward and it'd slow me down. The point is you oppose your velocity while you're on a surface, and it's just like applying the brakes if you've ever skied or snowboarded or surfed, any of the boarding or like sledding, even something like that. It's a pretty natural thing to do, but it's something to keep in mind because of automatic skiing. One thing I'm gonna look into, I'll probably add it actually just as a toggle so that people can play around with the idea, is I've had a couple people mention that the lateral jet key might be overcomplicating things, and it's always come back to why do we have lateral jets? And I'm like, well, I want lateral jets because they really do. They make it to where there's no, at least as far as CTF goes, the capper has a lot less of a capper's advantage as far as cappers in traditional CTF games with movement, Quake or Tribes, for instance. You build up massive amounts of speed before the grab, and you had a huge advantage over the defenders because if you managed the grab, the defenders oftentimes weren't, because they're defending, they can't dedicate their entire time to just gaining speed. And so because it's so hard for them to gain speed, you have a pretty unfair advantage. Almost everything happens before the grab, and then after the grab, everything normally happens, unless there's a sniper involved, of course, everything normally happens at the cap itself, like it's denials and such. But with lateral jetting, and because there are friction values present, the capper will have a capper's advantage still, just because they are spending their time gaining speed, and they're not fighting anybody or anything like that. But the defenders will have a much more level playing field as far as they'll be able to react, and even in some cases be able to head cappers off. If they took, for instance, if a capper takes a really wide route, the defender might take a much straighter path, and they'd at least be given probably 1 or 2 attempts to just directly shoot at the capper before the grab. So it should make chases a lot more prevalent, being able to lateral jet. That's my justification for keeping lateral jets. And the functionality I'm planning to add, talk about a massive derivative, is instead of having a lateral jet key, making the jet button, when you apply the jet button without any movement keys pressed, you will be up jetting. And when you apply the jet key and you're pressing a movement key like I'm doing right now, you'll lateral jet. What this means is you won't be able to up and lateral jet at the same time, which means that if for anybody who's played Tribes, you won't be able to do Tribes, like exactly Tribes-esque jet movement. If you kind of juggle between pressing a movement key and then lifting off and such like that, you'll be able to get close just because you'll be switching between up and lateral jets so rapidly, but you won't be able to actually get that exact movement. And so I could see some players actually rather liking that just because it's one less button they have to manage, and that's totally, it's player option is always a good thing. But I mean, the lateral jet key will likely be kept regardless, just as even if the other option is, a lot of players like it, it feels more intuitive, it'll probably be kept just because if players can manage those keys, I don't really feel that they should be denied that. But anyhow, that is the movement system in a nutshell. And the 2 things to remember is everything is relative, and that it's true. Everything is relative. It's, you go, I don't have any control, and you look at your speed, and you're like, oh crap, I'm going at Mach 5. Maybe that's why. And the other thing is the friction values. Everything's relative. The faster you go, the more friction is applied, and so there just is a limit as far as the gravity can help you, your jetpacks can help you, but as long as you're on a surface or even in the air, but the air one's so small it's unlikely to ever be hit. But you're on a surface, there's just going to be an upper limit on speed, pretty much, or at least maintainable speed, because you'll be able to get to some pretty crazy speeds, but you'll probably be taking damage all over, so it's not something that you can actually feasibly maintain for like the duration of a cap or something like that. So it'll the movement system, that's one of the things, is there are no special cases for the movement system. At least there's not like, oh, you're going 3,000 ups, now the jetpack's going to be reduced and it's no longer going to be a jetpack, it's going to be a magical fairy unicorn pack that happens to make you fly, but not really. So it's just something to consider. It's just the behavior of the system. Of course, I'm open to changing the system because it's pretty early, but it's just explaining what's going down. So that's the movement system. Hopefully I can release a ski update soon enough. I've been talking with a few people about the inner workings of the Unreal Engine and some possibilities for implementations, because the most straightforward way turned out to be not so straightforward. So I'll post updates as far as, like, as long as progress is being made with that. So anyhow, if you have any questions, you can of course use the forums, and I frequent those a lot, so do other players. So that's a good place to post with regards to movement questions, just because it means that anybody else who has any questions will be able to see if somebody else has already asked it, which is always nice. Other than that, of course, you can post in the YouTube comments, and you know, I have no problems with recording any more footage for anything, because it's not like it's that difficult for me to do. But anyhow, thanks for showing interest, and I hope the video has helped you or enlightened you with regards to how some of the aspects of the movement system work. So, thanks for watching.